Have you ever wondered why some people achieve extraordinary success, while others, despite working just as hard, seem to stay stuck in the same cycle? What if everything you've been told about success, grinding harder, sacrificing more, pushing yourself to the limit, was only part of the equation? What if the real secret to exponential success wasn't about doing more, but about doing the right thing consistently? Right now, you might think success requires overwhelming effort, that you need to completely overhaul your life to see real results. But that belief is precisely what keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. The truth: success is never about massive, unsustainable effort. It's about the small, repeatable actions that create unstoppable momentum. And the shocking part: you're only one habit away from transforming everything. The hidden flaw in hard work: why effort alone isn't enough. We've been conditioned to believe that hard work is the ultimate key to success. We're told to hustle, grind, and sacrifice until we make it. But if working harder was the real secret, wouldn't everyone who puts in long hours be at the top? The reality is, many of the hardest working people still struggle financially, professionally, and personally. Why? Because effort without strategy leads to exhaustion, not success. Successful people don't necessarily work harder than everyone else. They work smarter and more consistently on the things that truly move the needle. They understand that success isn't about running faster in the same direction. It's about leveraging the right habits that create exponential growth over time. This is where the Success Multiplier comes in. The one habit that changes everything. Imagine if there was a single keystone habit, one small shift, that could create a domino effect, improving every aspect of your life. What if this one habit could make you more productive, more focused, more disciplined, and more successful, without requiring you to work longer hours or exert overwhelming willpower? The key to multiplying your success isn't about piling on more tasks or setting impossible goals. It's about focusing on the one habit that, when applied consistently, causes everything else to fall into place. This is the Success Multiplier effect, the principle that when you master one key habit, it ripples through your life, transforming your results in ways you never imagined possible. Why most people never discover this formula? The reason most people stay stuck isn't because they lack potential or ambition. It's because they focus on addition instead of multiplication. They add more goals, more tasks, more responsibilities, believing that doing more will lead to better results. But multiplication works differently. Instead of adding complexity, it simplifies your path by focusing on the one action that creates exponential impact. Think about it like compound interest. If you invest a small amount consistently, your returns grow exponentially over time. The same applies to success. Small strategic actions, when compounded over time, create massive transformation. The Success Multiplier Framework, your path to exponential growth. This book isn't about quick fixes or generic self-help advice. It's a blueprint for transformation, one that takes scientifically proven principles and distills them into an actionable system you can apply immediately. Over the next chapters, you'll learn how to identify the keystone habit that will create a domino effect in your life, why tiny daily improvements are more powerful than massive, unsustainable changes, how to rewire your brain so success becomes automatic, the hidden forces that shape your habits and how to take control of them, how to stay consistent without relying on willpower or motivation. By the time you finish this book, you won't just understand success. You'll have a proven strategy to multiply it. Your call to action. Are you ready to multiply your success? Right now, you have two choices. You can keep doing what you've always done, hoping for different results, struggling with inconsistency, fighting through the same obstacles year after year. Or you can make a small but powerful shift, one that sets off a chain reaction of success in every area of your life. The choice is yours. If you're ready to break free from struggle, if you're ready to stop working harder and start working smarter, then let's begin. Because once you understand the power of the Success Multiplier, you'll never approach success the same way again. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Success Multiplier Mindset. How small habits create exponential growth. Success is a concept often misunderstood. People tend to see it as a grand event, a moment of breakthrough, or a single defining act that changes everything overnight. They admire the best-selling author when their book becomes a sensation, the entrepreneur when their business scales beyond expectation, the athlete when they achieve record-breaking performance, or the artist when their work goes viral. Yet, what they fail to recognize is the silent, unseen process that led to that moment. They overlook the years of effort, the countless repetitions, the relentless consistency, and the small but strategic choices made daily that compounded over time. The truth is, success is rarely the result of one massive action. It is the accumulation of tiny, repeated efforts, multiplied consistently over months and years. It is not about the sudden push of motivation, but rather the discipline to keep moving forward even when results are not immediately visible. Those who truly understand success do not chase quick wins or overnight transformations. Instead, they master the art of small, consistent improvements that compound over time, creating results beyond what most people believe possible. This is where the concept of multiplication versus addition comes into play. Most people approach growth with an additive mindset. They believe that if they work twice as hard, they will get twice the results, and if they double their efforts, success will come twice as fast. But real success does not operate on such a predictable, linear scale. Instead, it follows a compounding, multiplicative model where small strategic actions create an exponential impact. The difference is profound. While addition simply stacks progress in a straight line, multiplication amplifies growth, causing seemingly insignificant efforts to snowball into extraordinary outcomes. This is why some individuals experience exponential success, while others, despite working hard, remain stuck. The key lies not in doing more, but in doing the right things consistently, allowing each effort to build upon the last, creating a momentum that becomes unstoppable over time. A powerful example of this lies in the principle of compounding interest, an idea that holds not only in finance, but in every area of life. Imagine starting with a single penny that doubles in value each day. On day 1, it's just a penny. After 5 days, it's still a mere 16 cents. Even after 10 days, it barely surpasses $5, an amount so small that most people would consider the effort pointless. This is where most individuals give up, failing to see the larger picture. But if the process continues, by day 20, that penny has grown to over $5,000, and by day 30, it exceeds $5 million. The same principle applies to habits, skills, and personal growth. Progress seems invisible at first, almost frustratingly slow. But those who persist experience a tipping point where results accelerate beyond expectation. The tragedy is that most people quit just before reaching this breakthrough moment, never realizing how close they were to exponential success. This is why consistency outperforms intensity. The biggest mistake people make is relying on motivation to drive their actions. They start strong, setting ambitious goals, making bold resolutions, and taking massive action. But motivation is fleeting. It comes in waves, surging in moments of inspiration, but inevitably fading when faced with obstacles, fatigue, or discouragement. The most successful individuals understand that discipline, not motivation, is the foundation of lasting success. They do not depend on fleeting emotions to guide their actions. Instead, they build systems that ensure progress regardless of how they feel. They focus on sustainable habits rather than sporadic bursts of effort. They embrace consistency over perfection, knowing that long-term success is the result of showing up daily, even when it feels insignificant. At the core of the Success Multiplier mindset is the 1% rule, the idea that small incremental improvements, compounded over time, create staggering results. If a person improves by just 1% each day, the difference may seem negligible in the moment. Yet, over the course of a year, this tiny daily improvement results in a 37-fold increase in progress. Conversely, if a person declines by 1% each day, they find themselves close to zero by the year's end. This is the power of compounding effort. It works for you or against you, depending on the choices you make each day. This is also why success feels slow before it feels fast. In the beginning, effort outweighs visible progress, making persistence challenging. But those who stay consistent eventually cross the threshold where progress accelerates, making their earlier struggles seem insignificant in hindsight. Another critical component of the Success Multiplier mindset is habit stacking, the practice of attaching new habits to existing ones. The reason most people fail at habit formation is that they attempt to introduce new behaviors in isolation, which requires willpower and conscious effort. But habits thrive in context. When linked to established routines, they become automatic. Instead of forcing a new behavior into your schedule, you integrate it into something you already do. If you want to develop a meditation habit, link it to your morning coffee ritual. Every time you make coffee, meditate for 2 minutes. If you want to read more, attach reading to your nightly wind-down routine. By embedding new habits within existing behaviors, you reduce friction and make transformation effortless. Yet, even with the right habits in place, many people struggle because of their identity-based mindset. People act in alignment with who they believe they are. If someone believes they are bad with money, they will continue making poor financial decisions, even if they attempt to budget. If they see themselves as not a morning person, they will resist waking up early, no matter how many alarms they set. The key to lasting change is not just altering behavior, it's shifting identity. Instead of saying, "I am trying to be more productive," say, "I am a productive person." Each small action then becomes evidence reinforcing this new identity. This is why the most successful individuals don't just set goals. They build systems that reinforce their identity. Goals are temporary. Systems create permanent change. A person who sets a goal to lose weight might succeed in the short term, but if they shift their identity to someone who prioritizes health, their decisions naturally align with a healthier lifestyle. The difference between outcome-based goals and identity-based habits is what separates those who experience fleeting success from those who achieve long-term transformation. At its core, the Success Multiplier mindset is about recognizing that success is not about radical change or massive action. It's about small strategic actions performed consistently. It's about playing the long game, understanding that tiny efforts don't just accumulate, they multiply. Those who embrace this mindset develop an unshakable belief in the power of consistency. They don't get discouraged when progress is slow because they understand that success always starts this way. They don't fall for the illusion of overnight success because they know that what looks like sudden breakthroughs are actually the result of years of invisible effort. Impatience is the greatest enemy of success. Many people abandon their goals too soon, expecting immediate results and feeling discouraged when they don't see them. But true success is about delayed gratification, trusting that today's effort will create tomorrow's reward. The greatest achievers share one thing in common: they persist long enough for compounding effort to take effect. Chapter 2: The Power of a Keystone Habit. Unlocking the one habit that transforms everything. There exists a rare kind of habit, one that does not simply improve a single area of life, but instead triggers a chain reaction, influencing multiple behaviors, decisions, and outcomes at once. This habit is what researchers call a keystone habit, a single powerful behavior that, when introduced, alters the course of everything else. Most people approach habit formation with a fragmented mindset, attempting to improve various aspects of their lives independently. They set resolutions to eat healthier, exercise more, be more productive, save money, and improve relationships, all at once. The result? Overwhelm, burnout, and failure. But those who truly understand how behavior change works take a different approach. They identify the one habit that serves as the foundation, the habit that naturally leads to improvement in all other areas. Instead of fighting multiple battles, they focus their energy on winning just one, and from that victory, every other positive change becomes easier, even automatic. To grasp the true power of keystone habits, one must first understand their unique influence. Unlike ordinary habits, which exist in isolation, keystone habits create a ripple effect across different aspects of life. They rewire routines, reshape mindsets, and even alter identity. For example, studies have shown that individuals who develop a habit of regular exercise don't just become fitter. They also tend to eat healthier, sleep better, procrastinate less, and even manage stress more effectively. Why? Because exercise is a keystone habit. It influences decision-making beyond the gym. Someone who starts working out consistently begins to see themselves as a healthier person, and as their self-perception shifts, so do their behaviors. They start making better food choices, prioritizing rest, and structuring their day around their workouts, all without forcing themselves to do so. The habit acts as a trigger that naturally improves multiple behaviors at once. The power of keystone habits is not just psychological, it is deeply embedded in the neurology of habit formation. At the core of every habit lies a cycle known as the habit loop, which consists of three key elements: the cue, the routine, and the reward. The cue is the trigger that initiates the behavior, the routine is the action itself, and the reward is the benefit that reinforces the habit. Keystone habits operate on a higher level because they alter the neurological framework of other habits. When a keystone habit is introduced, it changes the way cues and rewards are processed across multiple behaviors, making it easier to adopt other positive habits. It essentially rewires the brain, creating an environment where growth becomes natural rather than forced. Real-world examples of keystone habits illustrate their extraordinary influence. Take the habit of making one's bed every morning. At first glance, it seems trivial, even insignificant. But research has shown that those who make their bed daily are not only more organized, but also tend to be more productive, more disciplined, and even financially more successful than those who do not. Why? Because this small act sets the tone for the day. It instills a sense of order, discipline, and control, attributes that spill over into other areas of life. Another example is food journaling. A study by the National Institutes of Health found that individuals who simply wrote down what they ate each day, not even changing their diet consciously, ended up losing weight more effectively than those following structured diet plans. Why? Because food journaling increases self-awareness, making people more mindful of their choices. This, in turn, leads to healthier eating habits, better portion control, and greater long-term success in maintaining a balanced diet. But perhaps one of the most well-documented keystone habits is regular exercise. Time and time again, research has shown that individuals who make exercise a core part of their routine don't just improve their fitness, they also experience a cascade of secondary benefits. They tend to make healthier dietary choices, quit smoking more easily, improve their work performance, and even strengthen their relationships. This is because exercise instills a sense of mastery and discipline, which carries over into other habits. The simple act of going for a run or lifting weights triggers a psychological shift. People start to see themselves as individuals who take care of their bodies. And when identity changes, behavior follows effortlessly. The secret to leveraging Keystone habits lies in choosing the right one. Not all habits have the power to create a ripple effect. The key is to identify the habit that aligns with your long-term vision and has the greatest potential to influence multiple areas of your life. A powerful Keystone habit often has 3 characteristics. It provides a sense of control, it triggers a shift in self-identity, and it creates momentum that leads to other positive behaviors. For some, the Keystone habit might be waking up early, as it sets the foundation for a more structured and productive day. For others, it might be meditation, which enhances focus, emotional regulation, and stress management. For many, it is physical exercise, which improves energy, discipline, and overall well-being. Once the Keystone habit is identified, the next step is implementation with consistency. The mistake most people make when adopting a new habit is that they attempt too much, too fast. They set overly ambitious goals, believing they need to make drastic changes overnight. But Keystone habits, like all habits, thrive on gradual reinforcement. The key is to start small, so small that failure is impossible. If your Keystone habit is exercise, start with just 5 minutes a day. If it's meditation, commit to 2 minutes of stillness. If it's journaling, write just 1 sentence per day. The goal is not intensity, it is consistency. Small, sustainable actions build momentum, making the habit effortless over time. But what happens when resistance inevitably arises? Many people start strong, but struggle to maintain new habits when motivation fades. This is where the power of habit stacking comes into play. Instead of relying on willpower to maintain a Keystone habit, attach it to an existing routine. If your Keystone habit is journaling, do it immediately after brushing your teeth. If it's stretching, attach it to your morning coffee ritual. By linking new habits to established routines, you eliminate friction, making habit formation seamless. Moreover, accountability plays a crucial role in reinforcing Keystone habits. The most successful individuals do not rely on self-discipline alone. They create external systems that ensure follow-through. This could mean tracking progress, sharing commitments with others, or joining a community that reinforces the habit. Studies show that individuals who have an accountability partner are significantly more likely to maintain new habits than those who rely on personal motivation alone. The final and most crucial step in solidifying a Keystone habit is shifting identity. Long-term success in habit formation is not about doing something. It is about becoming someone. Instead of forcing yourself to exercise, become the kind of person who prioritizes movement. Instead of trying to eat healthily, embody the identity of someone who respects their body. When habits align with identity, they become second nature, requiring little to no effort to maintain. Keystone habits are the foundation of exponential success. They are the catalyst that transforms scattered efforts into a structured, effortless path to growth. The mistake most people make is chasing multiple goals simultaneously, exhausting themselves in the process. But those who understand the power of Keystone habits recognize that one change can alter everything. The key is not to work harder, but to work smarter, to identify and cultivate the habit that serves as the gateway to lasting transformation. Chapter 3. The 1% Rule. Tiny gains, big results. The power of small improvements over time. Success is often portrayed as a dramatic transformation, a breakthrough moment that changes everything overnight. People idolize grand achievements, focusing on the results rather than the process. They assume that highly successful individuals are simply more talented, more driven, or luckier than others. But in reality, success is rarely the result of one massive leap. Instead, it is the culmination of tiny, consistent improvements made over time. This is the foundation of the 1% rule, the principle that small incremental gains, when compounded, create extraordinary results. While most people chase quick fixes and drastic changes, Those who understand the power of marginal improvements build habits that set them up for unstoppable long-term growth. The 1% rule is simple. Improve by just 1% each day, and over time, these small gains multiply into significant progress. At first glance, a 1% improvement seems insignificant. If you're trying to build a new habit, write a book, lose weight, or master a skill, improving by just 1% today may feel like it doesn't matter, but this is where most people get it wrong. The key to exponential growth lies in the compounding effect, the way tiny gains accumulate over time. If you get 1% better each day for a year, you don't just improve by 365%. Thanks to compounding, you improve by over 3,700%. The difference between success and stagnation is not in making massive changes, but in making small, consistent progress that builds momentum over time. The math behind 1% growth. To truly grasp the power of the 1% rule, it's essential to understand the mathematical principle behind it. If you improve by 1% daily, your progress follows an exponential growth curve, not a linear one. Most people assume that progress happens in a straight line, that if they put in a certain amount of effort, they will see an equal return. But success doesn't work that way. It operates on a compounding scale, much like compound interest in finance. The formula for compounding daily growth is 1.01 raised to the power of 365, which equals approximately 37.78. This means that by improving just a tiny bit each day, you end up 37 times better than when you started. However, the reverse is also true. If you allow yourself to decline by just 1% each day, following the formula 0.99 to the power of 365, you don't just get a little worse, you deteriorate nearly to zero. This illustrates a critical point. Small habits either build you up or break you down. Every decision you make either pushes you toward growth or pulls you away from it. The key is to ensure that each day you are moving forward, even if it's just a fraction of a percent. The difference between linear and exponential progress. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting linear results when real progress is exponential. In the early stages of improvement, the changes are so small that they seem almost meaningless. This is why so many people quit before they see results. They start a new habit, stick with it for a few weeks, and then give up because they feel like nothing is happening. But exponential growth doesn't work that way. In the beginning, progress is slow. The results are barely visible. But as the effects of compounding start to take hold, growth accelerates rapidly. Think of the bamboo tree analogy. When a bamboo seed is planted, nothing seems to happen for the first few years. There is no visible growth above the ground, leading many to assume the seed is failing. But beneath the surface, an extensive root system is developing. Then, almost suddenly, in just a few weeks, the bamboo tree shoots up over 90 feet tall. This is how the 1% rule works. The early phases feel frustrating because progress is happening beneath the surface, building the foundation for explosive future growth. Those who persist through this phase will eventually see massive results, while those who give up early will never experience the rewards of compounding effort. Practical ways to apply the 1% rule in daily life. Understanding the power of 1% improvements is one thing. Applying it consistently is another. The challenge is that most people are impatient. They want results now, not in months or years. But the beauty of the 1% rule is that it removes the pressure of making drastic changes. Instead of overwhelming yourself with big goals, focus on making tiny, manageable adjustments. 1. In health and fitness. Instead of trying to overhaul your diet overnight, start by making one small sustainable change. Drink 1 extra glass of water per day. Walk 5 more minutes. Reduce sugar intake by a tiny amount. These small improvements compound into dramatic transformations over time. 2. In productivity. If you want to improve your focus and work efficiency, start with one small tweak, such as eliminating one distraction, using a timer to work in focused blocks, or organizing your workspace a little each day. Over time, these small optimizations create a high-performance work routine. 3. In learning and skill development. Instead of cramming information or trying to master a skill all at once, focus on learning just 1% more each day. Read one extra page, practice for just 5 extra minutes, or review one key concept before bed. Over time, these micro-learning sessions lead to deep expertise. 4. In relationships. Instead of trying to completely transform your social life overnight, start small. Send one thoughtful message a day. Listen more attentively. Express gratitude once daily. Tiny acts of kindness and connection compound into stronger relationships. The goal is to make small improvements that feel almost effortless, ensuring long-term consistency. The most successful people don't rely on massive bursts of effort. They focus on daily progress, knowing that their efforts will multiply over time. Why most people fail to apply the 1% rule. Despite its simplicity, most people fail to apply the 1% rule because they underestimate the power of consistency. They get impatient, expecting immediate results, and when they don't see dramatic progress right away, they quit. The key to overcoming this mindset is to trust the process. The compound effect always works, but only for those who stick with it long enough. Another common mistake is focusing too much on intensity rather than consistency. Many people start strong, putting in extreme effort at the beginning, only to burn out. The 1% rule is not about working harder. It's about working smarter, making tiny, sustainable improvements that require minimal effort but deliver massive rewards over time. The final barrier to success is lack of tracking. Without measuring progress, it's easy to feel like nothing is happening. This is why successful people keep records of their small wins. Whether through journaling, habit tracking apps, or personal reflections, tracking progress provides motivation and ensures you stay on course. Conclusion: small habits, massive impact. The 1% rule is the secret to long-term success in any area of life. It eliminates the need for overwhelming effort, making growth effortless and automatic. By improving just a little each day, you create unstoppable momentum, turning small efforts into extraordinary results. While most people chase quick fixes and dramatic transformations, those who understand the power of compounding effort achieve lasting success. Chapter 5. Mastering the Art of Consistency. Why motivation fails, but consistency wins. Success isn't built on fleeting moments of inspiration. It's not about the occasional bursts of energy when you feel like taking action. It's not about how motivated you feel on a good day, or how determined you are after watching an inspiring video. The truth is, motivation is unreliable. It fluctuates based on emotions, energy levels, and external circumstances. Some days, you'll wake up feeling ready to conquer the world, while other days, you'll struggle just to get started. Relying on motivation is like trying to drive a car that only works when it feels like it. This is why so many people start strong and then fizzle out. They set ambitious goals, fueled by enthusiasm, but as soon as life gets in the way, their progress stalls. This is where consistency becomes the game changer. Consistency isn't exciting. It's not flashy, but it is the great multiplier of success. It's the quiet force that separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain stuck in cycles of stopping and starting. True success isn't about how intensely you start. It's about how long you can sustain the right behaviors. The most accomplished individuals in any field aren't the ones who rely on bursts of motivation, but those who have mastered the ability to show up daily, regardless of how they feel. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. The reason consistency is so powerful is that it allows compound growth to take effect. Just like a small investment grows exponentially over time, small actions, repeated consistently, lead to massive results. The problem is, most people never stick around long enough to see this effect in action. They start, but they quit when they don't see immediate results. The reality is that most meaningful success is delayed gratification. You put in the work today, but the rewards come later. Those who understand this principle and stay the course are the ones who ultimately succeed. The psychology of showing up daily. The brain craves predictability. It thrives on patterns. This is why habits are so powerful. They create an automatic response loop that removes the need for decision-making. When an action becomes second nature, it no longer requires effort or willpower. This is where consistency becomes the driving force behind lasting change. The goal is not to rely on willpower every day, but to make your actions so ingrained that they become part of your identity. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that consistency means perfection. They assume that being consistent means never missing a day, never making a mistake, never falling short. This is a dangerous mindset because it leads to all or nothing thinking. When people expect perfection, they become discouraged at the first sign of failure. They tell themselves, "I've already broken my streak, so I might as well quit." The key to consistency is not perfection, it's persistence. It's about showing up more often than not. If you miss a day, you get back on track the next. If you have a setback, you adjust and keep moving forward. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail isn't that successful people never make mistakes. It's that they don't let mistakes derail them. Another powerful psychological principle behind consistency is the self-reinforcing nature of action. When you take action, it creates a positive feedback loop. Small wins build momentum, and momentum makes it easier to keep going. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you reinforce the identity of being the type of person who takes action. Over time, this shapes your self-image. Instead of thinking, "I'm trying to be consistent," you start to see yourself as someone who naturally follows through. This shift in identity is what makes consistency sustainable in the long run. How to build automatic routines. The best way to ensure consistency is to eliminate friction. Make the habits you want to stick with as easy as possible. The more effort it takes to start a task, the more likely you are to procrastinate or skip it. This is why building automatic routines is so effective. When something is part of your daily rhythm, it no longer feels like a decision. It just happens. One of the most effective ways to do this is through habit scheduling. Instead of relying on willpower, create a fixed time and place for your habit. If you want to work out, schedule it at the same time each day. If you want to write, set a fixed writing session. The more consistent you are with the timing, the more automatic the behavior becomes. Over time, your brain associates that time and place with the habit, making it feel effortless. Another way to build automatic routines is by reducing decision fatigue. The more decisions you have to make about when, where, or how to do something, the more likely you are to delay it. Instead of deciding each day whether to exercise, set a predefined rule. For example, I work out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. When there's no decision to make, you eliminate excuses. Techniques to stay on track without burnout. One of the biggest challenges of consistency is avoiding burnout. Many people start strong but push themselves too hard, leading to exhaustion. To sustain long-term progress, balance is key. 1. Start small. Then scale. The biggest mistake people make is going all in too quickly. They try to work out for an hour every day, meditate for 30 minutes, or read a book a week. Instead, start with a sustainable level, even just 5 minutes of action per day. Once the habit is established, gradually increase it. 2. Use the 2-day rule. If you ever miss a day, don't miss 2 in a row. This rule prevents small setbacks from turning into a complete derailment. 1 missed day is just a bump in the road, but 2 missed days can turn into a habit of skipping. 3. Create accountability systems. Not the case. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about persistence. The key is learning to recover quickly when you slip up, rather than letting 1 missed day turn into a missed week or a missed month. Too often, people adopt an all-or-nothing mindset. If they break their streak, they assume they've failed entirely. But real consistency is about getting back on track as soon as possible. Missing 1 day won't ruin your progress, but allowing a single lapse to spiral into complete abandonment will. The people who succeed are not the ones who never make mistakes, but the ones who never let mistakes define them. To make consistency automatic, you must first understand the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. This is the psychological framework that determines behavior. The brain links actions to triggers, reinforcing them with a sense of accomplishment. The more times a behavior is repeated in a predictable way, the stronger the neural connections become. This is why habits, once formed, feel effortless. If you want to stay consistent, the key is minimizing friction between you and your desired action. The easier a habit is to perform, the more likely you are to stick with it. If your gym clothes are ready by your bedside, exercising in the morning becomes easier. If your book is placed next to your bed, reading at night becomes more natural. Small tweaks in your environment can mean the difference between success and failure. How to build automatic routines. The biggest advantage of consistency is that over time, it removes decision fatigue. Every day we make countless choices, and each decision requires mental energy. The more decisions we make, the more fatigued we become, which is why we often default to what's easy rather than what's beneficial. This is why people struggle to make healthy choices after a long day. They've exhausted their mental reserves. The solution? Eliminate unnecessary decisions. When you create a structured routine, you remove the need to decide what to do next. Instead of debating whether to work out, when to write, or how to organize your tasks, you simply follow a preset routine. This reduces mental friction and increases compliance. The most successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. They don't wake up and decide whether or not to take action. They've already built a framework that makes action inevitable. Start by identifying non-negotiables, the key habits that align with your goals. Then anchor these habits to fixed times or existing behaviors. The more predictable your routine, the easier it becomes to maintain. Consistency is about removing uncertainty. If you always exercise at the same time, your brain no longer questions whether you'll do it. It simply becomes part of your day. The less energy you spend deciding, the more energy you can spend doing. Techniques to stay on track without burnout. One of the biggest threats to consistency is burnout. Many people start strong but push themselves too hard, only to crash and abandon their efforts. Sustainable consistency is not about intensity. It's about strategic pacing. The goal is to build habits in a way that allows for longevity. There are several techniques to ensure you maintain long-term consistency without exhaustion. 1. Lower the activation energy. The harder an action feels, the more likely you are to avoid it. If you want to make something consistent, make it ridiculously easy. If going to the gym feels overwhelming, start with 5-minute workouts at home. If writing feels daunting, commit to just 1 sentence. The easier the first step, the more likely you are to follow through. 2. Use the 2-day rule. One of the best ways to maintain consistency without falling into an all-or-nothing trap is to adopt the 2-day rule. Never skip twice. Missing a single day doesn't ruin progress, but missing 2 days in a row increases the risk of completely falling off track. If you miss a workout, make sure you go the next day. If you skip writing, commit to showing up the following day. This rule prevents temporary setbacks from becoming permanent failures. 3. Track your progress visibly. Seeing progress reinforces behavior. Whether it's marking off days on a calendar, tracking workouts, or keeping a habit journal, visual cues strengthen consistency. The more evidence you have that you're showing up, the more motivated you are to keep going. Small wins add up, and tracking progress turns consistency into a rewarding experience. 4. Build in recovery periods. Consistency doesn't mean constant intensity. In fact, pushing too hard can backfire. Schedule deliberate rest days to prevent mental and physical exhaustion. High achievers understand the importance of strategic breaks. These allow for sustainable performance without diminishing momentum. 5. Reconnect with your why. When motivation fades, purpose sustains you. Every habit should be tied to a meaningful outcome. If you're struggling to stay consistent, remind yourself why you started in the first place. Clarity on long-term benefits makes short-term effort feel worthwhile. A strong enough reason will keep you going, even when the initial excitement wears off. The long-term impact of small daily actions. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a week, but underestimate what they can achieve in a year. The power of consistency is not in grand gestures, but in small repeated actions that compound over time. If you improve by just 1% every day, the effects are almost invisible at first. But over a year, that tiny daily gain multiplies into massive transformation. This is the power of compound effort, a concept most people never fully grasp because they give up too soon. Success is not about single moments of greatness, but about accumulated effort over time. The best athletes, writers, entrepreneurs, and artists didn't get where they are through sporadic bursts of work. They got there by showing up day after day, long after the excitement faded. This is what separates those who achieve meaningful success from those who merely dream about it. Consistency turns potential into reality. If you commit to taking action every day, even if it's just in a small way, the effects will be life-changing. The challenge is not about whether you can stay motivated, but whether you can stay disciplined enough to push through the days when you don't feel like it. Those who master consistency master success itself. Conclusion: the power of the unseen work. The most powerful transformations are often invisible at first. You won't see results immediately, and that's why most people quit too soon. They assume that because they don't see change, their actions aren't working. But real progress happens beneath the surface, in the daily repetitions, in the unseen work. Consistency is the force that turns small actions into extraordinary outcomes. It's not about intensity. It's about persistence. Chapter 6: The Role of Environment in Habit Formation. How your surroundings influence your habits. The habits you form and the behaviors you repeat are not solely determined by willpower, discipline, or even motivation. They are largely shaped by the environment around you. Your surroundings silently dictate your actions, often without you realizing it. Everything from the arrangement of your home to the people you interact with daily exerts an invisible influence on your habits. This is why some behaviors feel automatic, while others feel like an uphill battle. When your environment is aligned with your goals, positive habits become effortless. But when your environment works against you, even the strongest willpower crumbles. Consider how often your actions are guided by what is convenient and accessible, rather than what is ideal. If a bowl of fruit sits on your kitchen counter, you are far more likely to grab an apple than to rummage through your pantry for a bag of chips. If your workspace is cluttered and chaotic, you may struggle to focus, but a clean, organized desk can subtly encourage productivity. The design of your environment acts as a silent architect of your behavior, reinforcing some actions while discouraging others. Most people assume they fail to build good habits because they lack self-control, but in reality, their environment is designed for failure. They try to eat healthy while their fridge is stocked with junk food. They attempt to wake up early, but keep their phone beside their bed, making it easy to scroll late into the night. They aim to work out regularly, but keep their gym clothes buried in a drawer. It's not a lack of discipline. It's a failure to set up an environment that makes success inevitable. By shaping your surroundings with intention, you can make good habits the default choice. The power of habit-friendly environments. If you have ever tried to resist a temptation that was right in front of you, you know how difficult it is. The easiest way to change behavior is not to fight against temptation, but to remove the temptation entirely. This principle is known as environmental design, and it is one of the most effective yet overlooked strategies for habit formation. Instead of relying on sheer willpower, you can design your environment to support the behaviors you want to cultivate while eliminating the triggers that lead to bad habits. One of the simplest ways to make a habit stick is to increase exposure to positive cues while reducing exposure to negative ones. If you want to read more, leave books in visible places, on your nightstand, on the couch, or next to your coffee maker. If you want to exercise more, set up your workout gear the night before and place it where you can see it first thing in the morning. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle on your desk or in your car. By making desired actions more obvious and accessible, you make them easier to follow through on. At the same time, eliminating triggers for unwanted habits is equally crucial. If you struggle with mindless social media scrolling, delete the apps from your phone or place your phone in another room while working. If you tend to snack late at night, avoid buying junk food in the first place, so you are not tempted. If television is a distraction, unplug it or remove it from your bedroom entirely. The key is to make bad habits less convenient and good habits effortless. Your environment should guide you towards success without requiring constant self-discipline. Removing friction from good habits, adding friction to bad ones. Habits are often a matter of ease versus resistance. The easier a behavior is, the more likely you are to do it. The harder it is, the more likely you are to avoid it. This is why the design of your surroundings plays a critical role in habit formation. The best way to make a habit effortless is to remove friction, the small obstacles that stand in the way of taking action. For example, if you want to build a morning workout habit, laying out your workout clothes and shoes the night before removes the friction of having to search for them in the morning. If you want to cook healthy meals, prepping ingredients ahead of time makes the process easier. If you want to wake up earlier, placing your alarm across the room forces you to get out of bed. These small adjustments reduce the effort required to take action, making it easier to stay consistent. On the other hand, if you want to break a bad habit, the goal is to increase friction. If you check your phone too often, putting it in another room forces you to get up and retrieve it, making impulsive scrolling less likely. If you watch too much television, removing the remote batteries or unplugging the device creates extra steps that make it less convenient. If you eat too much fast food, keeping healthier options readily available makes choosing a better meal easier. Small increases in friction create just enough resistance to interrupt automatic behaviors, making bad habits harder to sustain. How to design your life for automatic success. Success should not rely on constant decision-making. It should be built into your environment so that good choices become the natural default. This process starts with strategic habit placement, deliberately positioning triggers and cues in your daily surroundings to reinforce positive behaviors. One of the most effective strategies is habit zoning, assigning specific areas for specific activities. If you want to work productively, create a workspace dedicated solely to focused tasks, rather than using the same space for relaxation and entertainment. If you want to improve sleep, keep your bedroom free from distractions like television and electronics. Separating environments by function strengthens behavioral associations, making it easier to engage in the right habits at the right time. Another powerful method is environment stacking, where you build new habits into existing routines by linking them to environmental cues. For example, if you already make coffee every morning, you can use this as a trigger to do a short meditation while waiting for it to brew. If you take the same route home every day, you can use this as a cue to stop by the gym. If you brush your teeth before bed, you can use this moment to reflect on your daily accomplishments. By anchoring new behaviors to familiar cues, you eliminate the need for conscious effort, making habit formation seamless. Finally, audit your environment regularly to ensure it supports your goals. Your surroundings evolve over time, and habits can drift if they are not reinforced. Conducting a habit environment check every few months allows you to identify obstacles and make adjustments. Ask yourself, is my space designed to encourage success? Are there distractions that need to be removed? Are there opportunities to make good habits easier? By proactively shaping your environment, you take control of your behavior rather than leaving it to chance. Willpower fades, motivation fluctuates, but your environment is always there, silently shaping your actions. The key to lasting success is not sheer effort, but smart design. If you want to build better habits, don't rely on willpower. Create an environment where success is the natural outcome. Remove friction from positive behaviors, add friction to negative ones, and make your surroundings a silent ally in your transformation. Chapter 7. The Success Triggers. Automating positive behavior. How triggers control your behavior. We are all products of the cues around us, whether we realize it or not. Triggers are the subtle environmental signals that prompt us to take action, often without conscious thought. These cues can come in many forms: a time of day, a sound, a visual cue, or even an emotion. They initiate the habitual cycle. First the cue, then the routine, followed by the reward. In a way, our lives are filled with triggers that prompt us to react, whether it's the sight of your phone vibrating, the sound of an alarm ringing, or even the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. Without these cues, our actions would be much more random, and our behaviors would require far more mental effort. The key to mastering habits, then, lies in understanding the power of these success triggers and how we can leverage them to automate positive behavior. To fully understand how triggers control your behavior, let's consider an example. Imagine you wake up to an alarm at 6 a.m., and as soon as you open your eyes, you feel the immediate urge to check your phone. It's not something you consciously decide to do. It's an automatic behavior prompted by the sight of your phone next to your bed. This is a classic example of how environmental cues serve as triggers for your behavior. However, you can reverse this effect. Instead of allowing your phone to be a trigger for mindless scrolling, you can choose to place a book by your bedside as the cue. This simple change can completely shift your morning routine from scrolling on social media to diving into a few pages of an inspiring book. The same mechanism is at play. Your environment triggers your behavior, but now the cue is aligned with your desired habits. The more often this new behavior is reinforced, the more automatic it becomes. Success triggers can also be used to anchor positive behavior throughout your day. Think of a trigger as a mental shortcut that helps your brain quickly associate a certain action with a specific cue. The more triggers you intentionally place in your environment, the more opportunities you have to automate behaviors that lead to success. For instance, if you want to build a habit of drinking more water, place a water bottle on your desk where you can see it at all times. Every time your eyes land on the bottle, it triggers the thought to drink. Over time, this small action becomes automatic, requiring little to no mental effort. The trick is to make the trigger obvious, so the behavior that follows becomes just as automatic. The science behind habit cues habits, at their core, are governed by a cycle of cue routine reward. The cue is the trigger that signals to your brain that it's time to perform a certain behavior. The brain's response to the cue is to initiate the routine, which is the behavior itself. And finally, the brain rewards you with a sense of satisfaction, which reinforces the habit loop. This cycle becomes more ingrained in your brain each time it is repeated. Over time, the cue and routine become so closely linked that the behavior feels automatic. This is where the concept of habit stacking can come into play. Habit stacking involves linking a new habit to an existing one, using an established behavior as the trigger. For instance, if you already have a habit of brushing your teeth in the morning, you can use this as the cue to begin a new habit of stretching for 5 minutes. By pairing the new habit with an existing one, you create a powerful trigger for the behavior. The more often you practice this, the more your brain will associate brushing your teeth with stretching, creating an automatic pattern that requires minimal effort to maintain. This is the beauty of triggers. By associating them with pre-existing routines, we can essentially program our brains to adopt new habits seamlessly. However, habit cues don't always come from external sources. They can also come from within. Emotions, for example, can serve as powerful triggers. When you feel stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, these emotions may trigger the impulse to reach for unhealthy coping mechanisms such as food or social media. But by becoming more mindful of your emotional state and associating these feelings with healthier responses, you can transform emotional triggers into opportunities for positive behavior. For instance, instead of turning to junk food when stressed, you could use that emotional cue to trigger a deep breathing exercise or a walk outside. Over time, you'll begin to associate stress with these healthier coping mechanisms, gradually replacing the negative habit with a more positive one. The power of emotional triggers is immense, and learning to reframe them is a key aspect of mastering success triggers in your life. How to build success reminders into your day. Success triggers are not just random cues. They are deliberately placed reminders that steer you towards your desired behaviors. The more consistent and deliberate these reminders are, the easier it becomes to align your actions with your goals. Building success triggers into your daily routine requires a mix of intention, awareness, and environmental design. If you want to be more productive, for instance, you might set a timer on your phone to remind you to focus for short intervals of time. Alternatively, placing motivational quotes around your workspace can serve as visual reminders that encourage you to stay on track. By strategically incorporating triggers throughout your day, you create a roadmap for success that is both simple and effective. Another powerful method for building success triggers is to use technology to your advantage. Apps, alarms, and reminders on your phone or computer can be set to prompt you to take specific actions. For instance, if you want to remember to meditate every morning, you can set a recurring alarm or reminder on your phone that prompts you to take a few minutes to center yourself before starting your day. Similarly, apps like Habitica or Todoist can help you track your progress by sending you notifications that encourage you to complete tasks and habits. These digital success triggers serve as small nudges that keep you focused on your goals, even when you might otherwise forget or become distracted. In addition to using digital tools, accountability partners can also serve as powerful success triggers. When you have someone who checks in on your progress, it creates an external cue that prompts you to take action. Whether it's a friend, family member, or colleague, knowing that someone is holding you accountable can increase your motivation to follow through. This external reminder can be especially effective when paired with a commitment device, such as a public declaration of your goals or a financial incentive tied to achieving them. The more reminders and cues you surround yourself with, the more likely you are to stay consistent with your positive habits. Examples of powerful success. Triggers. There are countless examples of success triggers that can be used to automate positive behaviors. One of the simplest and most effective success triggers is a visual cue. Research has shown that our brains respond strongly to visual stimuli, so placing objects that represent your goals in prominent areas can have a significant impact on your behavior. For instance, if you want to exercise more, leave your gym clothes out in plain sight, or put your sneakers by the door as a constant reminder. If your goal is to write every day, leave a notebook and pen on your desk, or set your computer desktop to a motivational image that reminds you to take action. These visual cues act as constant reminders that prompt you to engage in the behavior you desire, helping to create consistency over time. Another powerful success trigger is the use of time-based cues. If you want to develop a habit of reading, set aside a specific time each day, such as the first 15 minutes after lunch, as a trigger for your reading session. By associating the act of reading with a consistent time slot, you'll begin to automatically reach for a book when that time arrives. Similarly, you can use alarms and notifications as time-based cues to remind you to take action. For instance, if you've committed to a goal of exercising every day, set an alarm for your workout time. The moment that alarm rings, it acts as a powerful trigger to get you moving. The beauty of success triggers lies in their ability to automate positive behavior without requiring continuous conscious effort. By recognizing and designing your environment to support your goals, you can create a system of cues and reminders that make it easier to do the right thing. Success triggers can be visual, auditory, emotional, or even time-based, but the key is to use them strategically to reinforce the behaviors you want to cultivate. The more you can align your environment with your desired actions, the more effortless it becomes to adopt positive habits and maintain long-term success. Chapter 8. Beating Resistance. Why we quit and how to persist. Resistance is an ever-present force that hinders progress and drains our determination, manifesting as an internal barrier that leads us to abandon our pursuits when challenges arise. The struggle against resistance is not merely a matter of lacking willpower or motivation. Rather, it is a complex interplay of psychological impulses, deeply ingrained habits, and environmental influences that converge to create the sensation of insurmountable inertia. At its core, resistance is an instinctual response, a survival mechanism evolved to protect us from potential threats and discomfort by favoring the familiar over the unknown. In modern life, however, this ancient wiring can work against us, making us reluctant to embrace change and persist in the face of adversity. The experience of resistance is universal. Whether it emerges as the urge to procrastinate when a difficult task looms, or as an overwhelming sense of self-doubt when one attempts to pursue a dream that challenges the status quo. Understanding that resistance is a natural, though often counterproductive, part of the human condition is the first step toward transcending it, enabling us to develop strategies to outlast and ultimately transform these impulses into fuel for enduring success. The first subtopic to consider is the insidious nature of the inner critic, a voice within that constantly undermines our efforts by whispering doubts about our abilities and reinforcing the fear of failure. This internal dialogue is a manifestation of resistance that can sap our energy and derail our progress if left unchecked. When faced with a challenging project or an unfamiliar task, it is all too common for this negative self-talk to emerge, painting a distorted picture of our limitations and urging us to retreat back into our comfort zones. The inner critic convinces us that our efforts are futile and that any attempt at growth is doomed to failure, leading many to quit before they have a chance to experience success. Overcoming this internal adversary requires a deliberate process of cognitive reframing, whereby negative thoughts are challenged and replaced with affirmations of capability and potential. Techniques such as mindfulness meditation, journaling, and deliberate self-compassion can help to quiet this critical inner voice, replacing it with a more supportive narrative that encourages persistence, even when progress is slow. By training our minds to recognize and counteract the false messages of inadequacy, we can create a mental environment where resistance is acknowledged, but not allowed to dictate our actions. Another crucial element in the battle against resistance is understanding and navigating what is often referred to as the dip, a period during which progress appears to stall and the rewards of our hard work are not immediately evident. The dip is a natural phase in any process of meaningful change, characterized by a temporary plateau where the initial excitement fades and the effort required to continue seems disproportionately high compared to the visible results. Many individuals mistakenly interpret this phase as a sign that their endeavors are failing, prompting them to quit prematurely. In reality, the dip is the very period during which foundational growth occurs, setting the stage for a breakthrough that, once achieved, renders all previous struggles worthwhile. Recognizing that this plateau is an expected and essential part of the journey allows us to reframe moments of stagnation not as failures, but as necessary intervals of consolidation and preparation. Embracing the dip involves setting realistic expectations, breaking larger goals into smaller manageable tasks, and celebrating incremental victories that reinforce the belief that progress is being made, even if it is not immediately dramatic. Persistence during this phase builds resilience and ultimately leads to an acceleration of growth, transforming what initially seems like resistance into a catalyst for long-term achievement. The external environment plays a significant role in either exacerbating or mitigating the effects of internal resistance, making it imperative to consider how our surroundings contribute to our ability to persist. Our physical spaces, social circles, and daily routines serve as powerful cues that either encourage consistent effort or promote distraction and procrastination. A cluttered or chaotic environment can reinforce feelings of overwhelm and anxiety, making it easier to succumb to the urge to quit. In contrast, a thoughtfully organized space that is intentionally designed to support our goals can help to reduce friction and create a sense of order that bolsters our determination. Simple changes, such as decluttering a workspace, setting up dedicated areas for focused work, or surrounding oneself with inspirational messages, can have a profound impact on our capacity to overcome resistance. In addition to physical adjustments, cultivating a supportive social network is equally important. Being around individuals who share a commitment to growth and who model perseverance can serve as both motivation and a form of accountability. When external factors align with our internal aspirations, they create a reinforcing feedback loop that diminishes the power of resistance and makes it easier to persist through challenges. A key strategy in the ongoing struggle against resistance is the deliberate celebration of small wins, those incremental achievements that, while seemingly insignificant on their own, accumulate over time to produce substantial progress. The act of recognizing and rewarding even the smallest accomplishments can provide a vital boost to morale and reinforce the belief that continued effort is worthwhile. When we take the time to acknowledge progress, however modest, we create a positive feedback loop that diminishes the allure of quitting. Each small win serves as a stepping stone, gradually building momentum that propels us toward larger victories. This approach shifts the focus from the overwhelming magnitude of long-term goals to the manageable daily steps that lead to their realization. In doing so, it transforms the process of overcoming resistance into a series of attainable tasks, each of which fortifies our resolve and makes it increasingly difficult to surrender to the temptation of giving up. Ultimately, the path to overcoming resistance is paved with both introspection and action. It requires a deep understanding of the internal mechanisms that give rise to the urge to quit, as well as a willingness to confront these impulses with deliberate, strategic measures. Developing an awareness of the patterns that trigger resistance allows us to anticipate and counteract them before they can derail our efforts. This awareness, combined with practical strategies such as cognitive reframing, environmental optimization, and the celebration of small wins, forms a comprehensive framework for building resilience and ensuring that the journey toward success is not abandoned at the first sign of difficulty. Resistance, though it may feel insurmountable at times, is not an insurmountable force. It is a challenge to be met head-on, a call to push beyond the limits of our comfort zones and to embrace the discomfort that accompanies meaningful growth. By transforming resistance into a signal to persist rather than a reason to quit, we can harness its energy to drive us forward, turning each obstacle into an opportunity for improvement and each setback into a lesson that propels us toward our ultimate goals. In conclusion, the struggle against resistance is an integral part of the journey to success, demanding both self-awareness and strategic action. It is a battle fought on multiple fronts, within the mind, in the environment, and in the cumulative effect of daily actions that, when sustained, overcome even the most formidable barriers. The key to lasting progress lies in recognizing that resistance is not a sign of failure, but a natural, expected phase of any challenging pursuit. By addressing it with patience, resilience, and well-designed strategies, we transform the impulse to quit into a driving force for persistence. In the next chapter, we will explore the transformative concept of the 5-minute rule, a simple yet powerful method to break through procrastination and initiate action, further empowering you to maintain momentum even in the face of daunting challenges. This rule encapsulates the essence of starting small to build unstoppable momentum, ensuring that every moment is an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to growth and to take a step closer to your most ambitious aspirations. Chapter 9. The 5-minute rule. Beating procrastination. Procrastination is the silent thief of dreams, an invisible force that erodes ambition, saps energy, and replaces progress with an ever-growing sense of guilt and frustration. It is a paradoxical state of mind in which a person both deeply desires to achieve something meaningful and yet, inexplicably, finds themselves unable to take the necessary steps. The reasons behind procrastination are complex, rooted in psychology, habit loops, and even evolutionary biology. At its core, procrastination is not a problem of laziness, but of emotional management. The inability to cope with discomfort, self-doubt, or fear of failure, leading the mind to seek temporary relief through distractions and avoidance. The task remains undone, lingering in the background like a dark cloud, creating a cycle of anxiety and avoidance that only intensifies over time. However, the key to overcoming procrastination does not lie in sheer willpower or self-criticism, but in understanding how the brain responds to perceived effort. This is where the power of the 5-minute rule comes in, a simple yet profoundly effective technique that dismantles procrastination by reframing tasks into smaller, manageable increments that bypass the mind's resistance to starting. The psychology behind procrastination. To understand why the 5-minute rule works, one must first grasp the fundamental psychological mechanisms that drive procrastination. The brain is wired to prioritize short-term comfort over long-term rewards, a tendency rooted in its evolutionary past when immediate survival took precedence over abstract, future-oriented goals. When faced with a task that requires effort, whether it is writing a report, exercising, or even making a difficult phone call, the brain assesses the perceived difficulty and emotional discomfort associated with it. If the task appears too daunting or unpleasant, the brain triggers an avoidance response, directing attention toward easier, more instantly gratifying activities, such as scrolling social media, watching videos, or engaging in trivial tasks that provide an illusion of productivity without real progress. This mechanism, known as task aversion, is fueled by negative emotions, fear of failure, perfectionism, or even simple boredom. However, the paradox of procrastination is that once a person begins a task, the resistance quickly diminishes. The mental burden of anticipation is often far heavier than the reality of doing the work itself. This is due to the Zeigarnik effect, a psychological phenomenon where the mind fixates on incomplete tasks, creating a cognitive itch that compels us to see them through once initiated. This is where the 5-minute rule becomes a game changer. It takes advantage of this cognitive bias by reducing the initial barrier to entry, making it easier to transition from inaction to engagement. The power of the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule is built on a simple premise: commit to working on a task for just 5 minutes. Not an hour, not a day, just 5 minutes. The brilliance of this approach lies in its ability to sidestep the brain's resistance to effort. 5 minutes is an insignificant amount of time in the grand scheme of things, too small for the brain to perceive as a significant burden. By reducing the perceived effort required, the rule eliminates the most challenging part of any task: the beginning. What happens next is almost magical. Once the 5 minutes are up, something remarkable occurs. In most cases, the person does not stop. The act of starting generates psychological momentum, a phenomenon where engagement in a task naturally leads to continued effort. This is because the hardest part, overcoming the initial resistance, has already been conquered. The brain, now focused and engaged, finds it easier to continue working than to stop. This is a function of behavioral inertia. Once in motion, we tend to stay in motion. Tasks that previously seemed overwhelming suddenly feel manageable, and progress unfolds almost effortlessly. How to implement the 5-minute rule in daily life. Applying the 5-minute rule is deceptively simple, yet its impact is profound. The key is to choose any task that is being procrastinated on and make a commitment to work on it for just 5 minutes, with full permission to stop afterward. This removes the fear of commitment, allowing the brain to ease into the task without resistance. To maximize effectiveness, consider these strategies. 1. Use a timer. Set a countdown for 5 minutes and focus solely on the task at hand. This creates a clear starting and stopping point, making it easier to begin without overthinking. 2. Pair it with habit stacking. Link the 5-minute session to an existing habit, such as starting it immediately after making coffee or brushing teeth, to create a seamless transition into productivity. 3. Break down large tasks. If the task feels overwhelming, identify a micro-step within it. Instead of write a research paper, the micro-task could be write the first sentence or gather one source. 4. Eliminate distractions. During the 5 minutes, remove potential distractions such as notifications, social media, or background noise to ensure full engagement. 5. Celebrate small wins. Even if only 5 minutes are completed, acknowledge the progress made, reinforcing the habit through positive reinforcement. The ripple effect of small starts. What begins as a 5-minute effort often snowballs into extended periods of focused work, shifting the entire mindset toward action. This principle aligns with Newton's first law of motion, which states that an object in motion stays in motion. By initiating work with a micro-commitment, the task transforms from an intimidating burden into an achievable activity, reducing the psychological friction that causes procrastination in the first place. Moreover, the 5-minute rule nurtures identity-based habit formation, a concept from behavioral psychology that suggests repeated small actions reinforce a new identity. Every time a person successfully starts a task, even for a short period, they reinforce the self-image of someone who takes action rather than procrastinates. Over time, this shift in self-perception creates lasting behavioral change, making productivity feel more natural and effortless. Overcoming perfectionism with small action. One of the biggest drivers of procrastination is perfectionism, the belief that something must be done flawlessly or not at all. This mindset creates a paralyzing fear of making mistakes, leading individuals to delay starting a task until they feel fully prepared, a moment that rarely, if ever, arrives. The 5-minute rule combats perfectionism by shifting the focus from achieving perfection to simply making progress. When the goal is merely to work for 5 minutes, the pressure of perfection dissipates, allowing action to take precedence over overthinking. The long-term benefits of the 5-minute rule. When practiced consistently, the 5-minute rule rewires the brain's approach to productivity, transforming effort into an automatic habit. Over time, tasks that once triggered avoidance become easier to initiate, reducing overall stress and improving efficiency. The accumulated effect of countless 5-minute sessions results in exponential growth, demonstrating that success is not built on grand gestures, but on small, consistent actions. By making starting easy, the 5-minute rule dismantles procrastination at its core, proving that productivity is not about waiting for motivation, but about creating the conditions for action. The next chapter will explore the role of accountability in maintaining long-term momentum, revealing how external commitments and social reinforcement can further amplify the power of habit formation and ensure continued success. Chapter 10. Leveraging accountability for exponential growth. Accountability is one of the most powerful yet underutilized tools in achieving success. It is the bridge between intention and action, the force that turns fleeting motivation into sustained discipline. While personal willpower and intrinsic motivation are important, they are often inconsistent. Some days, the drive to push forward comes effortlessly, while on others, resistance is overwhelming and procrastination creeps in. This is where accountability becomes a game changer. It introduces an external force that keeps you aligned with your commitments, even when your internal drive wavers. The most successful people in the world, from elite athletes to high-performing entrepreneurs, all understand the immense value of accountability. They do not rely solely on personal discipline. They build structures that ensure they follow through on their goals. This chapter explores the psychology behind accountability, the different forms it can take, and the strategies to harness its power for exponential growth. The psychology of accountability. At its core, accountability taps into deep-seated human instincts, the desire for social validation, the fear of letting others down, and the natural tendency to follow through on commitments when others are watching. Psychologists have long studied the power of social pressure in shaping behavior. The Hawthorne effect, a well-documented psychological phenomenon, suggests that people perform better when they know they are being observed. When applied to personal growth and habit formation, this principle explains why individuals who share their goals with others are far more likely to achieve them than those who keep their ambitions private. When a commitment is made public, the stakes are raised. There is now an expectation, a social contract, that the goal will be pursued with diligence. Failing to act is no longer a private matter, but a public inconsistency between words and actions, something the human brain naturally seeks to avoid. Why accountability accelerates results. Accountability introduces several key elements that drastically improve the likelihood of success. First, it eliminates excuses. When left to our own devices, it is easy to justify inaction, telling ourselves we will start tomorrow, that conditions are not perfect, or that we are too tired to continue. However, when accountability is in place, those excuses lose their power. The presence of another person or group expecting progress forces action, even on days when motivation is absent. Second, accountability creates consistency. The key to success in any area of life is not occasional bursts of effort, but sustained, repeated action. When accountability structures are established, they create a rhythm of progress, ensuring that habits do not fall apart due to temporary setbacks or lapses in willpower. Third, accountability provides external feedback. When working alone, it is easy to become blind to weaknesses, inefficiencies, or areas of improvement. Having someone else observe and evaluate progress brings a level of objectivity that accelerates growth. A good accountability system offers both encouragement and constructive criticism, reinforcing positive behaviors while identifying areas that need adjustment. The different forms of accountability. Accountability comes in multiple forms, each offering unique benefits. Personal accountability, the foundation of all accountability structures, involves setting clear commitments, tracking progress, and developing self-discipline. While personal accountability is essential, it is also the most fragile as it relies on internal motivation, which fluctuates over time. To strengthen personal accountability, structured tracking methods such as journaling, habit trackers, or progress reviews can be implemented. Peer accountability involves sharing goals with a trusted friend, mentor, or colleague who holds you responsible for your commitments. This is one of the most effective forms of accountability because it introduces social pressure while also offering support and encouragement. Group accountability, commonly found in mastermind groups, professional networks, or fitness communities, creates an environment where collective progress drives individual effort. The shared commitment within a group creates a powerful feedback loop. Seeing others make progress reinforces the belief that success is achievable, while the fear of falling behind motivates consistent effort. Public accountability involves announcing goals to a wider audience, such as through social media, blogs, or public declarations. This method works because it amplifies social pressure. Once a commitment is made visible to a large group, the desire to maintain credibility and avoid public failure becomes a strong motivator. Finding an accountability partner or group. Choosing the right accountability partner is crucial. An effective accountability partner should be reliable, honest, and invested in your success. They should be willing to challenge you when necessary, not just offer blind encouragement. A good partner provides a balance of support and tough love, helping you push past excuses while celebrating progress. To maximize effectiveness, schedule regular check-ins, weekly or bi-weekly meetings where progress is discussed, challenges are addressed, and next steps are set. These meetings should be structured, with clear updates on what has been accomplished, what obstacles were encountered, and what actions will be taken moving forward. For those seeking a group accountability dynamic, joining or creating a mastermind group can be a transformative experience. Mastermind groups, popularized by Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, bring together like-minded individuals committed to mutual growth. The collective wisdom, shared experiences, and mutual encouragement create a powerful ecosystem for success. Many high achievers credit mastermind groups as the secret weapon behind their exponential growth. Using public commitment to ensure follow-through. Public commitment is one of the most powerful yet intimidating forms of accountability. When a goal is declared publicly, whether to friends, family, colleagues, or an online audience, the psychological stakes are raised. The commitment is no longer just a private ambition, but a social contract. This taps into identity reinforcement. Once a person publicly aligns themselves with a goal, they feel a subconscious obligation to act in accordance with that identity. For example, if someone publicly commits to running a marathon, their self-image begins to shift toward that of a disciplined, goal-oriented runner. This self-perception then influences behavior, making it easier to follow through. How to build a sustainable accountability system. A strong accountability system should be structured, intentional, and adaptable. Start by defining clear goals. Vague aspirations lack the precision needed for effective accountability. Instead of saying, "I want to get in shape," specify, "I will exercise for 30 minutes, 5 days a week, for the next 3 months." Next, identify the right accountability mechanism. This could be a single accountability partner, a group, or a public commitment strategy. Set a schedule for accountability check-ins. Without a set frequency, accountability loses effectiveness. Whether it is a weekly call, a daily check-in message, or a monthly review, consistency is key. Track progress objectively. Use measurable indicators, whether it is words written, workouts completed, or revenue generated, to assess whether commitments are being met. Adjust as needed. If an accountability method is not working, modify the approach. The goal is not to be rigid, but to ensure sustained progress. The long-term impact of accountability. When accountability becomes a natural part of a success strategy, results follow exponentially. It eliminates the cycle of starting and stopping, replaces self-doubt with structured support, and creates an environment where follow-through becomes inevitable. The greatest performers in any field do not rely solely on self-discipline. They design systems that force consistency, ensure progress, and remove the option of failure. By implementing strong accountability mechanisms, success ceases to be a matter of willpower. It becomes a matter of structure. The next chapter will explore the mindset of high performers, diving into the thinking patterns, beliefs, and habits that separate those who achieve extraordinary success from those who remain stuck in mediocrity. Chapter 11. The mindset of high performers. Success is not solely determined by talent, intelligence, or even hard work. It is largely shaped by mindset. The way individuals perceive challenges, handle failure, and approach opportunities dictates the trajectory of their lives. High performers, whether in business, sports, or any other field, do not simply work harder than others. They think differently. They cultivate a mindset that allows them to navigate obstacles, maintain focus, and consistently move toward their goals, even in the face of setbacks. This chapter delves into the core mental frameworks that distinguish high achievers from the average person. By understanding and adopting these principles, anyone can begin to multiply their success and operate at a higher level. The growth versus fixed mindset, the foundation of high achievement. At the heart of a high performer's psychology is the growth mindset, a concept introduced by psychologist Carol Dweck. Individuals with a fixed mindset believe that abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits, unchangeable qualities that one is either born with or without. This belief system fosters avoidance of challenges, fear of failure, and an aversion to effort. On the other hand, those with a growth mindset see abilities as developable through dedication, learning, and persistence. They view challenges as opportunities to grow, embrace failure as feedback, and persist through difficulties because they believe in their ability to improve. This fundamental mindset shift creates a domino effect on all aspects of life. When someone believes they can develop skills and overcome obstacles, they take more risks, engage in deliberate practice, and view setbacks as stepping stones rather than stop signs. High performers actively cultivate this mindset by challenging their own limiting beliefs, surrounding themselves with individuals who reinforce a growth-oriented perspective, and continuously seeking knowledge and skill development. They do not ask, "Can I do this?" but rather, "How can I do this?" This subtle yet powerful shift in language reorients the brain toward problem-solving rather than self-doubt. How high performers view failure differently. For the average person, failure is often seen as evidence of inadequacy, proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough to succeed. This leads to avoidance of risks and reluctance to step outside comfort zones. High performers, however, redefine failure entirely. Instead of seeing it as something to fear, they view it as an essential component of growth. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather a prerequisite for it. Take the example of elite athletes. Every missed shot, lost game, or poor performance is analyzed not as a personal failing, but as a source of data. They do not dwell on the mistake itself, but on what it teaches them about improvement. Similarly, high-performing entrepreneurs treat failures as market feedback, an opportunity to refine their approach rather than a signal to quit. This resilience is built on a deeper understanding of neuroplasticity. the brain's ability to rewire itself through experience. Each failure, when analyzed and learned from, strengthens mental adaptability, making future success more likely. High performers engage in post-failure analysis, asking themselves, what went wrong? What can I learn from this? How can I adjust my strategy moving forward? This approach ensures that failure is never final. It is merely part of the iterative process of success. The importance of patience and long-term thinking. One of the defining characteristics of high achievers is their ability to play the long game. In a world driven by instant gratification, most people expect immediate results. When progress is slow, they become discouraged and abandon their pursuits prematurely. High performers, however, understand the compounding effect of consistent effort over time. They are not deterred by slow progress because they recognize that real success is built incrementally. Consider the analogy of bamboo growth. For the first several years, a bamboo plant appears to show little to no growth above ground. However, beneath the surface, its root system is developing extensively. Then, seemingly overnight, the plant experiences explosive growth, shooting up several feet in a matter of weeks. Success follows a similar pattern. It often looks like nothing is happening for a long time, but when the foundation is set, exponential growth occurs. High performers maintain delayed gratification, resisting the temptation of short-term rewards in favor of long-term outcomes. They focus on process over results, understanding that true mastery takes years of deliberate effort. They trust the success multiplier effect, small repeated actions leading to massive payoffs over time. Learning from setbacks. Instead of quitting, setbacks are inevitable, but what differentiates high achievers from others is how they respond. While many people see setbacks as signals to quit, high performers interpret them as signals to adjust. Instead of viewing obstacles as reasons to abandon their goals, they see them as data points indicating areas for improvement. This ability to reframe setbacks is crucial for maintaining momentum. When faced with difficulty, high performers do not internalize defeat. They do not say, "I failed because I am not good enough." Instead, they ask, "What needs to change in my approach?" This shift in thinking allows them to continue moving forward, even when progress feels slow or painful. One of the best examples of this mindset in action comes from Thomas Edison, who famously conducted over 10,000 failed experiments before successfully inventing the light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, he reportedly said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This relentless optimism and refusal to quit are hallmarks of high performers. Building mental toughness and resilience. Resilience is the ability to endure hardship and keep going despite challenges. It is one of the most valuable qualities of high achievers. While many people crumble under pressure, high performers develop mental toughness, which allows them to stay focused and persistent in difficult times. Resilience is not something people are born with. It is cultivated through adversity. Every challenge, every moment of struggle, every instance of self-doubt provides an opportunity to build mental toughness. High achievers actively seek discomfort, intentionally placing themselves in situations that stretch their limits. They embrace controlled adversity, deliberately engaging in challenging activities, whether through intense physical training, high-stakes business decisions, or difficult personal commitments. A common practice among elite performers is visualization of adversity. Before stepping into a difficult situation, they mentally rehearse potential obstacles and visualize themselves overcoming them. This process conditions their brain to handle pressure more effectively when real challenges arise. Adopting a problem-solving mindset. High performers approach life with a solution-oriented mindset. When faced with problems, they do not dwell on the difficulty. They immediately shift their focus to finding solutions. This mindset is rooted in proactive thinking, anticipating obstacles in advance and developing strategies to navigate them. This mentality fosters adaptability, allowing high performers to pivot when needed, rather than becoming stuck in frustration. They recognize that every problem has a solution, and their job is to find it. This mindset alone separates them from those who remain stuck, overwhelmed by challenges, rather than actively working through them. The mindset of high performers is not about talent, intelligence, or luck. It is about how they think. They cultivate a growth mindset, view failure as a learning tool, practice patience, develop resilience, and maintain a problem-solving approach. These mental frameworks create the foundation for long-term success, allowing them to multiply their achievements and sustain high performance over time. In the next chapter, we will explore how to reprogram identity for success, a crucial step in making lasting behavioral change. While habits shape outcomes, true transformation occurs at the identity level, where success becomes an inherent part of who you are. Chapter 11. The Mindset of High Performers. Success is not solely determined by talent, intelligence, or even hard work. It is largely shaped by mindset. The way individuals perceive challenges, handle failure, and approach opportunities dictates the trajectory of their lives. High performers, whether in business, sports, or any other field, do not simply work harder than others. They think differently. They cultivate a mindset that allows them to navigate obstacles, maintain focus, and consistently move toward their goals, even in the face of setbacks. This chapter delves into the core mental frameworks that distinguish high achievers from the average person. By understanding and adopting these principles, anyone can begin to multiply their success and operate at a higher level. The growth versus fixed mindset, the foundation of high achievement. At the heart of a high performer's psychology is the growth mindset, a concept introduced by psychologist Carol Dweck. Individuals with a fixed mindset believe that abilities, intelligence, and talents are static traits, unchangeable qualities that one is either born with or without. This belief system fosters avoidance of challenges, fear of failure, and an aversion to effort. On the other hand, those with a growth mindset see abilities as developable through dedication, learning, and persistence. They view challenges as opportunities to grow, embrace failure as feedback, and persist through difficulties because they believe in their ability to improve. This fundamental mindset shift creates a domino effect on all aspects of life. When someone believes they can develop skills and overcome obstacles, they take more risks, engage in deliberate practice, and view setbacks as stepping stones rather than stop signs. High performers actively cultivate this mindset by challenging their own limiting beliefs, surrounding themselves with individuals who reinforce a growth-oriented perspective, and continuously seeking knowledge and skill development. They do not ask, "Can I do this?" but rather, "How can I do this?" This subtle yet powerful shift in language reorients the brain toward problem-solving rather than self-doubt. How high performers view failure differently. For the average person, failure is often seen as evidence of inadequacy, proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, or capable enough to succeed. This leads to avoidance of risks and reluctance to step outside comfort zones. High performers, however, redefine failure entirely. Instead of seeing it as something to fear, they view it as an essential component of growth. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather a prerequisite for it. Take the example of elite athletes. Every missed shot, lost game, or poor performance is analyzed not as a personal failing, but as a source of data. They do not dwell on the mistake itself, but on what it teaches them about improvement. Similarly, high-performing entrepreneurs treat failures as market feedback, an opportunity to refine their approach rather than a signal to quit. This resilience is built on a deeper understanding of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself through experience. Each failure, when analyzed and learned from, strengthens mental adaptability, making future success more likely. High performers engage in post-failure analysis, asking themselves, what went wrong? What can I learn from this? How can I adjust my strategy moving forward? This approach ensures that failure is never final. It is merely part of the iterative process of success. The importance of patience and long-term thinking. One of the defining characteristics of high achievers is their ability to play the long game. In a world driven by instant gratification, most people expect immediate results. When progress is slow, they become discouraged and abandon their pursuits prematurely. High performers, however, understand the compounding effect of consistent effort over time. They are not deterred by slow progress because they recognize that real success is built incrementally. Consider the analogy of bamboo growth. For the first several years, a bamboo plant appears to show little to no growth above ground. However, beneath the surface, its root system is developing extensively. Then, seemingly overnight, the plant experiences explosive growth, shooting up several feet in a matter of weeks. Success follows a similar pattern. It often looks like nothing is happening for a long time, but when the foundation is set, exponential growth occurs. High performers maintain delayed gratification, resisting the temptation of short-term rewards in favor of long-term outcomes. They focus on process over results, understanding that true mastery takes years of deliberate effort. They trust the success multiplier effect, small repeated actions leading to massive payoffs over time. Learning from setbacks. Instead of quitting, setbacks are inevitable, but what differentiates high achievers from others is how they respond. While many people see setbacks as signals to quit, high performers interpret them as signals to adjust. Instead of viewing obstacles as reasons to abandon their goals, they see them as data points indicating areas for improvement. This ability to reframe setbacks is crucial for maintaining momentum. When faced with difficulty, high performers do not internalize defeat. They do not say, "I failed because I am not good enough." Instead, they ask, "What needs to change in my approach?" This shift in thinking allows them to continue moving forward, even when progress feels slow or painful. One of the best examples of this mindset in action comes from Thomas Edison, who famously conducted over 10,000 failed experiments before successfully inventing the light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, he reportedly said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This relentless optimism and refusal to quit are hallmarks of high performers. Building mental toughness and resilience is the ability to endure hardship and keep going despite challenges. It is one of the most valuable qualities of high achievers. While many people crumble under pressure, high performers develop mental toughness, which allows them to stay focused and persistent in difficult times. Resilience is not something people are born with. It is cultivated through adversity. Every challenge, every moment of struggle, every instance of self-doubt provides an opportunity to build mental toughness. High achievers actively seek discomfort, intentionally placing themselves in situations that stretch their limits. They embrace controlled adversity, deliberately engaging in challenging activities, whether through intense physical training, high-stakes business decisions, or difficult personal commitments. A common practice among elite performers is visualization of adversity. Before stepping into a difficult situation, they mentally rehearse potential obstacles and visualize themselves overcoming them. This process conditions their brain to handle pressure more effectively when real challenges arise. Adopting a problem-solving mindset. High performers approach life with a solution-oriented mindset. When faced with problems, they do not dwell on the difficulty. They immediately shift their focus to finding solutions. This mindset is rooted in proactive thinking, anticipating obstacles in advance and developing strategies to navigate them. This mentality fosters adaptability, allowing high performers to pivot when needed, rather than becoming stuck in frustration. They recognize that every problem has a solution, and their job is to find it. This mindset alone separates them from those who remain stuck, overwhelmed by challenges rather than actively working through them. The mindset of high performers is not about talent, intelligence, or luck. It is about how they think. They cultivate a growth mindset, view failure as a learning tool, practice patience, develop resilience, and maintain a problem-solving approach. These mental frameworks create the foundation for long-term success, allowing them to multiply their achievements and sustain high performance over time. Chapter 12. Reprogramming your identity for success. Success is not merely the result of actions taken. It is deeply rooted in identity. The habits people develop, the goals they pursue, and the standards they uphold are all reflections of how they see themselves. Those who struggle to achieve lasting change often make the mistake of focusing solely on behaviors rather than addressing the deeper issue of identity. They attempt to force themselves into new routines, hoping discipline alone will carry them through, but they remain tethered to their old self-perception. High achievers understand that true transformation begins with shifting how they see themselves. When identity aligns with success, desired behaviors become second nature. This chapter explores how identity influences outcomes, how to break free from limiting self-perceptions, and how to craft an identity that naturally leads to success. The power of identity-based success. At the core of every action is a fundamental question: who am I? Identity shapes behavior far more than motivation or willpower ever could. A person who identifies as a healthy individual does not struggle with exercising or eating well. Those behaviors are simply extensions of their self-concept. In contrast, someone who views themselves as undisciplined may attempt to adopt better habits, but will inevitably revert to their old ways because they are acting out of alignment with their perceived identity. The secret to sustainable success lies in changing identity first, so that the desired behaviors feel natural rather than forced. Many people focus on outcome-based goals, such as losing weight, earning more money, or becoming more productive. While these goals are important, they often fail to create lasting change because they are external. The real breakthrough occurs when people shift to identity-based goals. Instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," a person reprogramming their identity would say, "I am a runner." Instead of aiming to read more books, they would adopt the identity of a reader. This shift eliminates internal conflict. There is no need to rely on discipline when an action aligns with one's sense of self. How identity shapes habit formation. Every repeated action reinforces identity. When someone consistently behaves in a certain way, their brain interprets it as evidence of who they are. A person who writes every day becomes a writer. Someone who wakes up early and follows a morning routine becomes disciplined. The key to reprogramming identity is stacking small wins, deliberately taking actions that reinforce the desired self-image until it becomes deeply ingrained. This process begins with casting votes for the new identity. Each time a person acts in alignment with their desired self-concept, they cast a vote for that identity. If someone wants to be more confident, they must act confidently even in small ways until their brain internalizes that identity. If they want to be productive, they must consistently complete small tasks that reaffirm their belief in their efficiency. Over time, these small votes accumulate until the new identity becomes undeniable. This is why habits are so powerful, not just because they lead to results, but because they shape who a person becomes. A person who prioritizes fitness, even with small daily workouts, begins to see themselves as an athlete. A person who saves money consistently, even in small amounts, begins to see themselves as financially responsible. The habit itself is important, But the real transformation occurs when the habit changes identity. Breaking free from limiting identities. Many people struggle to change because they are subconsciously attached to their old identity. They may consciously desire success, but deep down, they still see themselves as someone who procrastinates, struggles, or fails. Even when they make progress, their mind pulls them back to what is familiar. To create lasting change, they must consciously dismantle the old identity that holds them back. One way to do this is through identity auditing, carefully examining the beliefs and labels a person has assigned to themselves. Often, these identities are inherited from childhood experiences, past failures, or external influences. A person who struggled academically as a child might still label themselves as not smart, even if they are now highly capable. Someone who was always late in the past might continue to see themselves as unreliable, even after they have developed better habits. These outdated identities become invisible barriers to success. To break free, individuals must challenge these limiting identities. This involves recognizing that identity is not fixed. People are not bound to their past selves. Every moment presents an opportunity to redefine who they are. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at public speaking," a person can reframe it as, "I am becoming a confident speaker." Instead of saying, "I always procrastinate," they can say, "I am learning to take action quickly." These small shifts in language and thought begin to weaken the grip of the old identity and make space for a new one to take hold. The role of self-talk in identity transformation. The way people talk to themselves shapes their reality. Many individuals unknowingly reinforce negative identities through their internal dialogue. They repeatedly tell themselves they are bad at certain things, that they lack discipline, or that they are not the type of person who succeeds. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. High performers deliberately rewrite their self-talk. They do not just rely on affirmations, they actively construct internal narratives that support their desired identity. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to wake up early," they say, "I am someone who values my mornings." Instead of saying, "I hope I can get in shape," they say, "I am an athlete in training." This shift moves their self-perception from wishful thinking to certainty. One of the most effective ways to reinforce identity through self-talk is by celebrating small wins. Every time a person takes an action that aligns with their desired identity, they acknowledge it internally. After completing a workout, they say, "That's like me. I take care of my body." After finishing a productive work session, they say, "That's like me. I stay focused and get things done." This continuous reinforcement accelerates identity change. Designing an environment that reinforces identity is not just shaped by internal beliefs. It is also influenced by external environment. People become who they surround themselves with, what they expose themselves to, and the habits their environment encourages. High performers design their surroundings to support their desired identity rather than relying on willpower alone. One of the most powerful ways to do this is by curating influences. If a person wants to adopt the identity of a successful entrepreneur, they immerse themselves in books, podcasts, and conversations with people who embody that identity. If they want to be fit, they spend time in environments that normalize exercise and healthy living. The more exposure they have to their desired identity, the more natural it becomes. Another strategy is removing environmental triggers that reinforce the old identity. If someone is trying to become more productive, they eliminate distractions like social media notifications. If they are trying to develop better eating habits, they remove junk food from their home. By restructuring their environment, they make success automatic. Reprogramming identity is the key to lasting transformation. Success is not about forcing new habits through willpower, but about becoming the type of person who naturally embodies those habits. By consciously shaping identity through small wins, self-talk, and environmental design, individuals can break free from limiting beliefs and step into a version of themselves that aligns with their goals. Chapter 13. Measuring progress without overwhelm. Progress is the foundation of lasting success, yet one of the greatest challenges people face is knowing whether they are truly moving forward. In a world obsessed with results, individuals often judge their success based on immediate, visible achievements, leading to frustration when results do not come as quickly as expected. However, true progress is rarely linear. It unfolds gradually, often beneath the surface, long before it becomes evident. Those who master the art of measuring progress in a meaningful way stay motivated and consistent, while those who rely solely on external validation often burn out or give up too soon. High achievers do not just work hard, they track their growth with precision. They understand that what gets measured gets improved, and they develop systems to ensure they are not just moving, but moving in the right direction. This chapter explores how to measure progress effectively, the power of tracking small wins, and how to avoid the common pitfalls that lead to discouragement. Why tracking small wins leads to big results. The brain thrives on evidence of progress. Even small improvements can trigger powerful motivation, reinforcing positive behaviors and making it easier to sustain momentum. Unfortunately, many people dismiss small progress because they are fixated on big, visible outcomes. They overlook the fact that major success is simply the accumulation of tiny, incremental steps taken consistently over time. A person training for a marathon does not go from running 1 mile to 20 overnight. They build endurance gradually, each run strengthening their capacity. A writer does not complete a book in a single sitting, but by consistently adding words to the page day after day. Yet, many individuals fail to acknowledge these incremental improvements, leading them to believe they are not making progress when, in reality, they are laying the foundation for massive breakthroughs. This is why tracking small wins is crucial. Every time a person acknowledges their progress, no matter how minor, they reinforce their belief in their ability to succeed. This creates a positive feedback loop. Progress leads to motivation, which leads to more action, which leads to more progress. Over time, this compounds into significant transformation. The key is to measure progress in a way that is visible, tangible, and rewarding. When individuals track their efforts, they shift their focus from the overwhelming gap between where they are and where they want to be, to the measurable improvements they are making each day. This shift in perspective is often the difference between giving up and persevering until success is inevitable. Simple methods to measure habit. Progress tracking. Progress does not have to be complicated. The most effective tracking methods are those that are simple enough to maintain consistently. Here are 3 powerful ways to measure progress. 1. The habit scorecard. This involves tracking daily habits with a simple system, such as marking an X on a calendar each time a habit is completed. The goal is to build a streak. Each consecutive day reinforces the identity of being consistent. Over time, individuals become more motivated to keep their streak alive, making the habit more ingrained. 2. The 2-minute reflection. At the end of each day, taking just 2 minutes to reflect on what was accomplished creates awareness of progress. Writing down even the smallest achievements helps reinforce a sense of forward movement. Many successful individuals keep a daily wins journal where they record 3 things they did well each day, reinforcing the habit of recognizing success. 3. Measuring inputs, not just outcomes. Most people measure progress based on results, but the most effective tracking focuses on inputs rather than outcomes. For example, a person trying to lose weight should focus on tracking workouts and healthy meals, rather than obsessing over the scale. A business owner should track marketing efforts rather than revenue alone. Measuring inputs ensures individuals stay consistent with the actions that eventually lead to results. By adopting a tracking system that is simple, rewarding, and easy to maintain, individuals create a structure that keeps them motivated even when progress is not immediately visible. The power of reflection and course correction. One of the most overlooked aspects of measuring progress is the power of reflection. Many people assume that if they simply take consistent action, success will follow. However, those who achieve the highest levels of success do not just work hard. They regularly evaluate and adjust their approach based on what is working and what is not. Reflection is what allows individuals to learn from their experiences rather than repeating the same mistakes. Without periodic reflection, a person could spend months working on a strategy that is not effective, leading to frustration and wasted effort. However, by taking the time to assess progress, individuals can make informed adjustments that accelerate their success. A simple but powerful reflection method is the weekly review. At the end of each week, individuals can ask themselves 3 key questions. 1. What worked well this week? 2. What challenges did I face, and how can I improve? 3. What is the next step I need to take? By answering these questions consistently, individuals develop self-awareness and adaptability, 2 critical traits of high achievers. They begin to notice patterns in their habits, identify obstacles early, and refine their strategies for greater effectiveness. Over time, this practice of reflection compounds, leading to continuous growth and improvement. When to adjust versus when to persist? One of the greatest challenges in tracking progress is knowing when to stay the course and when to make adjustments. Many people give up too soon because they assume slow progress means they are on the wrong path, while others stubbornly stick to an ineffective approach for too long. The key is to understand the difference between lagging indicators and leading indicators. Lagging indicators are results, things like weight loss, revenue, or skill level. These take time to materialize, and focusing on them too soon, it can lead to discouragement. Leading indicators, on the other hand, are actions, things like workouts completed, sales calls made, or hours of practice. These can be tracked immediately and are within an individual's control. When progress feels slow, individuals should focus on leading indicators rather than lagging indicators. If they are consistently taking the right actions, they must trust the process and persist. However, if they are taking action but not seeing improvement over an extended period, it may be time to analyze and adjust the approach. High achievers do not blindly persist in ineffective strategies. They are relentlessly committed to the goal, but flexible in their approach. If something is not working, they pivot and refine their methods, rather than abandoning the pursuit altogether. Measuring progress effectively is one of the most powerful tools for long-term success. Those who track small wins, measure inputs rather than just outcomes, and regularly reflect on their progress, create an unstoppable momentum that propels them forward. Progress is not always visible in the short term, but by focusing on consistent action and using a structured tracking system, individuals ensure they stay on the path to success. In the final chapter, we will bring everything together and explore the ultimate formula for multiplying success, providing a step-by-step strategy to integrate all the principles covered in this book into a cohesive, long-term success plan. Chapter 14. The Ultimate Success Formula. Putting it all together. Success is not an accident, nor is it the result of luck or chance. It is the inevitable outcome of consistent actions, guided by a clear system and reinforced by habits that create unstoppable momentum. Throughout this book, we have explored the power of the Success Multiplier, how one small intentional habit, when applied consistently, can transform every aspect of life. Now, as we conclude this journey, it is time to bring everything together into a cohesive, actionable formula that ensures long-term success. While knowledge is valuable, it is implementation that creates transformation. The principles outlined in this book are not theoretical concepts meant for passive consumption. They are tools designed to be applied in real life. This final chapter will provide a step-by-step success blueprint, ensuring that readers not only understand these principles, but also integrate them into their daily lives in a way that guarantees results. The Success Multiplier Framework, a step-by-step guide. The Success Multiplier is not about dramatic overnight change. It is about small strategic actions that compound into life-changing results over time. To apply this framework effectively, follow these 5 key steps. 1. Identify the one habit that will multiply your success. 2. Anchor it with habit stacking and environmental design. 3. Commit to the 1% rule and focus on tiny daily gains. 4. Leverage accountability and track progress relentlessly. 5. Reinforce success by reprogramming your identity and mindset. Each of these steps is essential in building a sustainable success system. Let's break them down further. Step 1. Identify the one habit that will multiply your success. The first step in applying the Success Multiplier is choosing the right habit. Not all habits are created equal. Some have a disproportionate impact, influencing multiple areas of life. These are known as Keystone habits, and they serve as the foundation for exponential growth. To identify your Keystone habit, ask yourself, what one habit, if consistently practiced, would have the greatest positive impact on my life? The answer will be different for each person. For some, it might be daily exercise, as it leads to increased energy, discipline, and confidence. For others, it might be waking up early, as it creates extra time for productive work, self-improvement, and planning. For someone in business, it might be consistent outreach and networking, as it directly drives opportunities and income. Once you have identified this one powerful habit, the next step is to ensure it becomes ingrained in your daily routine. Step 2. Anchor it with habit stacking and environmental design. New habits fail when they exist in isolation. The secret to seamless habit formation is to attach new behaviors to existing routines. This is known as habit stacking, a method where you pair a new habit with something you already do consistently. For example, if your goal is to meditate daily, you can stack it onto your morning coffee routine. After I make my coffee, I will meditate for 2 minutes. If you want to improve your learning, you can listen to audiobooks while commuting. By anchoring new habits to existing behaviors, you eliminate the need for extra motivation and make the habit stick effortlessly. Additionally, environmental design plays a crucial role in habit formation. Your surroundings either support your success or sabotage it. To reinforce your new habit, make small environmental adjustments that remove friction. If your goal is to read more, place books in visible locations. If you want to exercise, set out your gym clothes the night before. Conversely, if you want to reduce distractions, remove temptations, keep your phone in another room when working. By aligning your environment with your habits, success becomes automatic rather than forced. Step 3. Commit to the 1% rule and focus on tiny daily gains. One of the greatest reasons people fail is that they expect instant results. They become frustrated when their efforts do not yield immediate rewards, and they give up too soon. But success is not about drastic, unsustainable changes. It is about tiny, consistent improvements. The 1% rule states that if you improve just 1% each day, you will experience exponential growth over time. While 1% may seem insignificant, it compounds in powerful ways. Small, consistent progress outperforms occasional bursts of effort every time. The key is to lower the resistance to action. Instead of trying to master a new habit overnight, break it down into small, manageable steps. If your goal is to write a book, start with just 1 paragraph per day. If your goal is to exercise, start with 5 minutes of movement. These small steps eliminate the feeling of being overwhelmed, making it easier to build momentum. Step 4. leverage accountability, and track progress. Relentlessly success thrives on accountability. The most effective way to ensure follow-through is to create external commitments. Studies show that individuals who declare their goals publicly or have an accountability partner are significantly more likely to stay consistent. Find a system that keeps you accountable. This could be joining a mastermind group where members track progress together, having a mentor or coach who holds you responsible, using public commitment, announcing your goal to others so that social pressure reinforces consistency. Additionally, tracking progress is essential for sustained motivation. Without measurement, progress feels invisible. Use a habit tracker, a success journal, or even a simple checklist to monitor daily progress. Seeing tangible evidence of improvement fuels the desire to keep going. Step 5. Reinforce success by reprogramming your identity and mindset. Ultimately, habits are not just about actions. They are about identity. Long-term success happens when individuals shift from doing a habit to becoming the type of person who naturally lives by that habit. For example, instead of thinking, "I'm trying to eat healthy," reframe it as, "I am a person who prioritizes health." Instead of, "I'm trying to write more," say, "I am a writer." This identity shift rewires the brain, making success feel like a natural part of who you are, rather than something you have to force yourself to do. To reinforce this new identity, regularly visualize your future self. Ask yourself, how does the most successful version of me think, act, and make decisions? Then align your daily habits with that vision. Final motivation and encouragement. The journey to success is not about perfection. It is about progress. There will be setbacks, there will be moments of doubt, but those who achieve the greatest success are the ones who keep moving forward even when results are not immediately visible. Remember this: you are always just one habit away from transformation. The principles in this book are not meant to be passively consumed. They are meant to be applied, lived, and mastered. The choice is now yours. Will you take action, or will you remain where you are? Success is not reserved for the lucky or the talented. It is available to anyone willing to commit to small, consistent habits. You have the power to multiply your success starting today. Now, go and make it happen.